On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 419 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. And today we're joined by friend of the show, Ian Mendes, for two segments. We, of course, have to chat some Sens with him, how he's feeling leading into a year with the Athletic, and then we turn our attention to trivia. Ian started it when he came on twice ago when he asked us about the Atlanta Thrashers and which Senators goalie has beaten them, really testing out whether we're a goalie-friendly show. So you know we took that personally, and now we are doing everything in our power to stump this Sens encyclopedia at trivia. Did we do it? Stay tuned for all that. Plus, we're still awaiting the Senators to be back in action. However, wheels are down. They're in Texas, in the States for the first time since March 11th of 2020. We'll save our preview for tomorrow, but the Belleville Senators had an emphatic win last night, so we'll touch on that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Thursday, October 28th, and Pilsy, just when I was starting to get worried, Egor Sokolov is back.
Yeah, talk about the Belleville Senators needing scoring. We put out the bat signal yesterday on the episode, and who showed up but Sokolov? Yeah, Sokolov especially. You know me, JBD. He also made an appearance scoring his first and second pro goal. And what I love about both these players is Sokolov assisted on JBD's goal with such a nasty behind the back pass. Just leaves it back there for him, and JBD rips it home. And then Sokolov, on one of his goals, just comes down the wing. The defense moves out of the shooting lane. He says, "Thank you very much. Top cheese. Monkey off the back. First goal of the season." You gotta love that. And I think now that Egor's got the first and second goal off his back and he's ready to go, we're going to see him firing on all cylinders here. The flood is happening. The dam has burst.
4 points. That's absolutely sick, as Guy Boucher is probably saying somewhere. But in all seriousness, Belleville needed that win bad after last weekend. A 4-0 shutout on Friday, and then they lose a tight 2-1 game. You mentioned Andrew Agozzino scored the lone goal in that game. He also got on the board yesterday. So as the kids are producing now as well, Cole Reinhardt getting on the score sheet, which was nice to see. You look at these vets still coming through. So I thought that was, well, safe to say it was the Belleville Sens' best effort last year, but it was their most important effort as well, because they're going into a tough weekend series against the Toronto Marlies. The final score here, the Belleville Senators winning 7-3. And how about JBD scoring his first two professional goals? So stick taps to Bernard Docker for that. But he got them in the span of 4.5 minutes. His first goal was on the Belleville's second shot of the game. So he wasted absolutely no time. Belleville was up 3-0 after the first period. But from what we're gathering, people in the rink saying, despite letting in 3 goals, Kevin Mandolese was the difference between this being a 7-6 win rather than 7-3.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the Sens didn't dominate them in the shots at all. The Sens only got 2 power plays. The Americans got 6. And this is a really good Americans team. Like, you look at some of the players they got here: Casey Fitzgerald, Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka.
The two guys who we previewed yesterday saying got to keep out for Peterka and Quinn, they each had 5 shots. So 10 shots on goal, no goals. And that just tells you that Mando was standing tall.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out here, this is something I often look at in high-scoring games. Ross, 4 players on Belleville were held without a point, and one of those players was Erik Brannstrom. A 7-goal night, and you don't chip in offensively at all as the top defenseman and a guy who's supposed to be a puck-moving guy, so that's a little concerning.
Jonathan Aspero, assist. Colby Williams, goal. JBD, 2 goals. Gwinnett, assist. And Hetherington, assist. The only 2 defensemen out of 7 that didn't record a point was Erik Brannstrom and Zach Leslie.
And Zach Leslie had 17 penalty minutes. He was hardly on the ice. One more thing leading up to the Marlies game, Ross. This stat blew me away. So the Marlies and Belleville Senators, each 5 games, each at the bottom of the division. The Senators have 66 PIMs. The Toronto Marlies have 171 PIMs in 5 games. That is aggressive.
That's extremely aggressive. And I'm just looking up and down here, and looks like we had another tilter. No, he just got. He did get in a scrap. Shout out Mark Kastelich. Casty mixing it up towards the end of the game. And what was just a great effort. So hopefully we see more of that from the Belleville Senators and the right guys getting on the score sheet, albeit not number 16, or I guess Brandy. We can't really say his number because it's different from Ottawa to Belleville. But hey, they're going to the weekend firing, so we're going to be all over that. We'll get into it more so on Monday. The Senators, however, what a weird schedule, Pilsy? You're looking at Monday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So no weekend games coming up, but we'll have a full preview of their game against Dallas on tomorrow's Locked On Senators. Pilsy, I'd say why waste time? Let's get to Ian Mendes. We've got him for nearly 35 minutes. So we hope you enjoy. This guy is an absolute beauty, true friend of the show. It's his 4th appearance on the show. However, I tease it in the intro. But do you remember the first time we had Ian on when it was making sense of the sense? It was literally a school project. And Ian was nice enough to do a phone interview with him. And then I text him, you guys had the great idea, like, hey, why don't we use that phone interview for the podcast? And so Ian had no idea he was on a podcast with us. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ross, before we head to Ian, though, quick word from our friends over at betonline.ag.
Nice. You're going to do the ad read, try to get some juju for your parlay of the day?
Yeah, guys. So the parlay of the day did not hit. Both games went to overtime. I would like to say one of them going the way I wanted, but I had puck line, so it's all a moot point. I'm just trying to grasp at straws here.
I know. Well, hey, you learned something. Don't bet on the Leafs.
Something. Yeah, there was a mistake there. But I was betting on the good guys against the bad guys, which is weird to say for the Leafs, but that didn't turn out quite how I wanted. But the important thing, Ross, is I was in on the action. I was dialed in on that Leafs game, which usually I am not. And it was a close one that I just wasn't able to get a piece of. But you got to keep coming back responsibly because eventually we're going to hit one of these parlays. And the best place to do it is at betonline.ag. Guys, head there today. They're the official partners of the Locked On Senators podcast. Make a free account at betonline.ag. Use our promo code LOCKEDON for your 50% welcome bonus. So you put $100 in, you're going to get $50 worth of free play in your account. Bingo, bango, bongo, as Ross likes to say. You got some money to bet. And if you're going to make some bets, try out Pilsy's parlay. I haven't won yet, but I'm in the action. And I think I got a 3-team parlay this time because I'm really trying to be aggressive to try to make up for all of those losses. So let's see what's on tap today, Ross. Check it out. The Winnipeg Jets up against the LA Kings. I've been on LA Kings back, but it hasn't worked out for me, and Drew Doughty is out long-term now. That decor is looking very, very bad. So I think the Jets can pounce on them. I like that money line at -110. Then Tampa Bay versus Arizona. I mean, that's a slam dunk. The money line at -310. We're just getting that in there for an easy win. Philly played last night. Carter Hart played. If Martin Jones is the same Martin Jones I know and remember, he's going to be awful, although he has won his only game this year. But I think the Canucks can beat up on them after a back-to-back. I got Canucks money line. Put $10 in for Jets money line, Lightning money line, and Canucks money line. You're going to win $35.45. That is Pilsy's parlay of the day. And guys, check it out today, betonline.ag. Use our promo code LOCKEDON for 50% off welcome bonus at betonline.ag.
All right, here he is. Friend of the show from The Athletic, it's Ian Mendes. All right, we now welcome a very special guest back to Locked On Senators. It's his 4th time on the show, although he'll probably admit he doesn't remember the first time. We don't blame him, but he's the senior writer with The Athletic. It's Ian Mendes. Welcome back, man. How you doing today?
Hey, guys, it is so great to join the two of you. Ross and Brandon, love everything you guys pump out. Think you guys do some great content. Always have fun. And I know you want to make me look stupid at the end with some trivia, so looking forward to this.
I mean, you set the tone when you asked us which Senators goalies have more than one win against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
No, I think it was Atlanta. Was it in Atlanta?
It was Atlanta, yes.
It was Atlanta, yeah.
Funny enough,
I think we ended up getting it though with a little bit of time. We got it.
Little time, but no help. I don't think we guessed any wrong names, but it took us a while to get there.
I can't remember. Was Yanni Herme a correct answer or incorrect?
Yanni Herme is always a correct answer.
Yeah.
It's always Yanni Herme. And ironically, I'm now living in the city that the Atlanta Thrashers moved to. But all that aside, you're coming up on a year at the Athletic. That was a surprise move, going from what seemed like a great gig running the drive at TSN 1200. What's been the feel now going a year in?
It was a 1-for-1 trade. Mendes for Salvian. Yeah.
But you guys play Summer League together, the equivalent, doing the podcast.
Doing the podcast together. It's crazy when, as soon as you said that, like that I'm closing in on a year, because I started first week of January 2021. So it's amazing how quickly, like it's weird because I haven't even finished a calendar year with the Athletic, and I'm well into my second season covering the Senators, right? If you think about it, just with the way that the pandemic kind of altered last season and shortened everything. So it's been a whirlwind. I've really enjoyed it. It's been everything I could have asked for and more. I will say, though, the one thing that is really, really tough is being behind a paywall. I'm not going to lie to you. And the pressure that I think you feel as a writer that, you better have something that's different, unique, opinionated, what have you. Like, it can't just be something you're going to find on a free website or a blog. And that's the problem, is that there's so many good writers now that cover this team that do it for free. Do it not behind a paywall. And even the stuff that you guys pump out here with your podcast, it's like, man, like, damn, like when did you guys have Shane Pinto? Last week or 2 weeks ago?
Last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday. And I'm like, oh man, like that's a great get. And it's a great it's a great motivator. It's like, man, like there's so many great things going on, I think, with the coverage of this team, that there's enough room. And I'm also a big believer in this. There's enough room at the table for all of us to sit there, and like, what you guys do isn't stepping on my feet. I think what you guys do makes us better. And because it forces us to not just be sitting back and it's like, oh damn, if the Locked On Sens guys are aggressively getting, Joey Decord and Shane Pinto and all these great interviews that you guys have done, Timmy Stützle last year, you think to yourself, like, oh man, like these guys are hustling, like I better not just sit on it. So that's been a real challenge for me, is just, constantly trying to churn out content, have it be unique, have it be different. And, asking people to pay for your work, I think, is a really big obligation. I understand people have a lot of bills to pay, and everyone has monthly subscriptions, right? Whether it's Netflix or Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you have. So we're asking you to do the same thing. And now you got to make it worth their while, because $6 a month, it's a lot of money for people. It is like that, and I'm very mindful of that. So that's the one thing I'll say, is every day I kind of wake up and I have this little pressure that some random subscribers paying $6 for me. Like, let's get going here. Like, you better make it worth their while.
Well, I mean, Ian, we can say firsthand that it is worth the while for the subscription if you're a Sens fan, just to get your articles. I can tell you, Ross and I read every single one. You've been killing it while you've been at the Athletic so far. So I want to, now that you've kind of had a full season under your belt as a writer, what was kind of the most inspiring story that you wrote this season, right? Like, there's especially with the Ottawa Senators not being involved in the playoffs, there's a long stretch without Senators hockey, as we know as well. What are some of the stories that you kind of scrounged up that you're like, oh man, that like this really turned something from nothing here? Yeah,
you know what? The couple that jumped to my mind. See, I love writing. Like, I wish I could only write feature stories. Like, if they told me, you don't really have to cover the games, you don't have to really cover like the all you have to do is we want profile, like, oh, I would be in for that all the time. I love doing that. That's my favorite thing, is sitting down with an athlete or a coach, talking to them, finding about what makes them tick, finding out what their hobbies are, and then trying to present that to the audience, or in this case, the readership. So for me, the ones that really jump out, I love doing. I had a chance to not even sit down, do it all on the phone, but Parker Kelly, this past summer, connect with Parker Kelly, connect with his mom, connect with his junior coach. And it was just a great story. And I wrote that story, and at the end of it, I was like, how do you not cheer for this guy? Honestly, like, read the story, read the backstory. You're going to love the guy. Same with Ridley Gregg, same with Egor Sokolov. Had a chance to connect with them and some people around them. And I think that's what's important. I think that's what, the organization, I think, should just be selling these kids. Like it's impossible to hate the Ottawa Senators group of players that they have now. Honestly, like this is the most likable team that I've seen around here in a long time. Because even like when they went to the conference final in 2017, I don't know that they had the likability factor. Like they had, it was some great human interest stories with Bobby Ryan and Craig Anderson and
Clark
Grizz,
MacArthur.
Clark MacArthur. Yeah, it was great, but it still didn't feel like it was like the heart and soul kind of teams that we felt in the early 2000s. That's how I feel now. Like now I feel like you're starting to fall in love with these players. And I think the more that the fans read about these players or listen to the interviews like the one you guys did with Pinto, or you see them doing, pumpkin carving with Josh Norris and Timmy Stützle, like you start to see that and you're like, man, like it's impossible to hate these guys. So those would be the stories that I love doing and the profiles that I really enjoyed writing this year.
And just because you're pumping our tires for some interviews, how can we not mention you got the International Man of Mystery through a Q&A with Artem Zub? That was awesome to read as well. Speaking of Artem Zub, I think that's a natural transition into the team today because I think you got headlined a little bit on your TSN 1200 hit yesterday.
Come on. What was that? These guys,
I know.
Is clickbait. That was clickbait.
I know. Although we did talk about it a little bit on yesterday's show because it doesn't take a genius or an advanced stats guy to look at the box score and see +3 besides Zub and Chabot and -2s and 3s all around everywhere else. Would it be a bad decision to get these guys on separate units?
See, so again, and I'm
watch your words. This is the headline right here.
Clickbait exactly. Coming up.
No, you want the headline? The headline is Matt Connesvita, who posted that for TSN 1200, threw me under the bus. That's the headline because in that segment on 1200 on whatever it was, that Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. I basically said, hey, I got a question for you guys. And I asked AJ Jaguback and Lever Sage, would it be worth or should they consider splitting up Artem Zub and Thomas Chabot? I didn't say they should. I said, is it worth exploring? Because right now it almost reminds me of, remember back in the day, and you guys are so young, you'll be like, what are you talking about? I was in middle school. But the pizza line was great, but they were top heavy. And there was always a feeling like, should we split up Alfredsson, Spezza, Heatley? Do we need to put Alfie on a different line? Do we need to put Heatley and Spezza with a different winger? Or like whatever it was. That's kind of the vibes I'm getting right now, that this decor is very top heavy. So I think it's worth talking about it. I think it's worth exploring. I think it's very fair to say that you're now seeing the Thomas Chabot, that's the $8 million player. You're seeing that guy now. And that's great. And I've always felt like Thomas Chabot took a little bit too much criticism in this marketplace. I've always felt like if he was better supported, things would be better. So you're seeing that now. But at the same time, you can't have one pairing that's logging 27, 28 minutes a night, and then you just roll the dice on the other, 30 minutes of the hockey game. So I do think it's worth talking about. I'm not saying that I'm willing to do it, but I feel like they've put all their eggs in one basket, and I don't even know how this goes. I do know that I did enjoy seeing a little bit of Erik Brannstrom and Nick Holden. I thought they were okay. And I think when you look at the way that Thomas Chabot and Artem Zub play the game, they're not these big 6'4", push them out of the net, grinding physical defensemen. What are they? They are modern day defensemen. They're very smart. They can move the puck. And, Artem Zub's a little bit obviously more physical than Thomas Chabot, but I wouldn't call him this sort of bruiser. Like, he's just a really smart, effective defenseman. So that's what you need to make your pair successful. Like, to me, I would say, look at Chabot and Zub and then say, how can we replicate that with other pairings? And the obvious answer is Jake Sanderson is going to come into town at some point, and Jake is going to end up being the guy that could probably, supply some of that. But can you wait for that? Like, I mean, we're still 12 months away probably from Jake Sanderson being an everyday NHLer, and then maybe even 18 months away from him being maybe towards the end of next season, he'll be an effective top 4 defenseman. It's a long time to wait. And so that's all I'm saying. Do you split up Chabot and Zub? If you split up Chabot and Zub, it's not an indictment on them. It's an indictment on everybody else. That's all.
And I'd like to see if that's the case. Why not go back to what worked at the end of last year and have Brannstrom play with Zub? Those two played unbelievable together down the stretch.
you're right. And remember when Chabot was out of the lineup for the last 5+ games, I actually liked Erik Brannstrom's game. I really did. And I thought they played well with Brannstrom and Mete in the lineup. They moved the puck pretty well. I think there was one game, and if it wasn't against Winnipeg, might have been Calgary, but Brannstrom had 3 points.
Yeah, Calgary.
It was Calgary. Yeah. And like, he looked really good. He looked the most confident and comfortable I'd seen. And then I thought he had a pretty good training camp. And I think he was the victim of, he was the easiest guy to send down because of the contractual stuff. But I felt like he played well enough to be a top 6 defenseman. Like, opening night, give him a shot. I'm telling you, as we're sitting here, like, and maybe we're having a different discussion if we circle back to this next week after the 3-game road trip. Like, I think maybe this 3-game road trip will determine whether or not we see Erik Brannstrom really soon. Because if you go on this 3-game road trip to Dallas, Chicago, and Minnie, and you come out of it and you still got Chabot and Zub, and they're great 25 minutes a night, but the other guys are struggling, they're getting caved in. You got to do something, right? And I think the time to make a trade was in the summertime. I don't think the time to make a trade is now. But if you got Erik Brannstrom there, why not? Like, let's put it this way. I don't think he could be worse than what they're currently rolling out, but let's give them the weekend. Let's see what happens here, especially when they're on the road. They're not going to get the matchups, but they haven't been very good the last couple of games.
Yeah, it's been tough, that's for sure. And this kind of leads me into my next question, Ian, is how do you think this scenario plays out? Like, do you think Erik Brannstrom will need to play so well that he forces the Senators to call him up? Or do you think the Senators' top or bottom 4 D pairings are going to play so bad that it causes them to be like you said, he can't be any worse, so we got to bring him up? Like, which one of those scenarios ends up playing out?
Well, I think that this organization's been pretty consistent with their messaging of, hey, if you're down in the AHL, like, you better be playing well. And the example I always use is Jean-Gabriel Pageau. And JG years ago got sent down to the AHL under very similar circumstances to Brannstrom, in that, hey, JG, you're the only guy who can go down. You're on the waiver exempt, the 2-way deal. Go down there, bide your time. We'll get you up here when there's injuries, or whatever. And Pageau just went down and kicked down the door. And he was like, just an FYI, I'm never playing here again. And he was dominant. He was great. And they had no choice. So you'd like to see that out of Erik Brannstrom, but he's only had 3 or 4 games down there, right? So we can, I guess, kind of pump the brakes there. The guy that I'm wondering about, and if you listen to Troy Mann on TSN 1200, and you listen to people, Lassie Thompson, that becomes the name that you start to think. And I think he had an ankle injury, and I don't know that he played.
We'll ask him on Monday for you.
There you go. See, look at this. Locked on Sens getting Lassie Thompson. And I think that's a guy that you probably should have your eye on, is Lassie Thompson. And if he continues to play well, do they say to themselves, okay, we're going to call Lassie Thompson up and give him some NHL games? I think DJ really likes him. I think he liked seeing him a little bit in person last year. Those games with Belleville down the stretch. I think he likes the way that he defends below the dots. And he's got some underrated offensive side to him. Like, I think he can shoot the puck and do some things. So as we talk about sort of modern day NHL defensemen or whatever, he seems to fit the bill. That would be the one guy I would also kind of circle. But again, let's give it the weekend. Maybe Mike Del Zotto comes in and he's okay. Maybe Holden gets put with Mete, or whatever it is.
Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I feel like after Chabot and Zub, and to some extent after Nick Holden, there's a lot of question marks. I feel like there's 3 question marks sitting right there out of a group of 6.
And goaltending obviously can mask these deficiencies defensively. Anton Forsberg was unbelievable. We were in the building for the home opener against Toronto. I think it was 46 saves. And then the last couple of games, and we're going to give him a pass, obviously, he's sitting on the bench for 54 minutes of the New York game, but then another, subpar effort. And then you look at Filip Gustavsson's numbers in the NHL are just outstanding in a 10-game sample size. I was of the mind going into the season that if Matt Murray was hurt, or should we say when, just based on the sample size that we've seen from him over the past year, that they should go right to Gustavsson. Are you surprised that they keep rolling out Forsberg instead of Filip?
Well, let's see what happens Friday night in Dallas, right? Because Forsberg's coming off of basically back-to-back poor appearances. Now, I don't necessarily blame him for that Rangers debacle. Guy's sitting on the bench for 55 minutes. He's ice cold. I think at that point, if you're a backup goalie, your team's up 2-0 with 5 minutes and change to go. You're probably not like, hey, I got to make sure I'm loosened up, right? Like all of a sudden that happened so quickly. And I don't even blame him on the goals, right? Like it wasn't like these 55-foot shots. They were backdoor plays, bang, bang tips. Even the Barclay Goodrow winner, I don't blame him on. So I was willing to pass that one off. And he did make a couple of really nice saves. There's one he made on Ovechkin.
Yeah, the backdoor.
The right pad save he made on Alex Ovechkin early in the game on Monday. I thought, okay, Forsberg's down there. And then he wasn't. And then it was clear they had to make a change. I would go to Filip Gustavsson Friday in Dallas for a couple of reasons. A, he did beat Dallas already this season.
Yes.
But B, he's got that like whatever, like, and you guys are the goalie experts. You guys are the goalie friendly show. So maybe you guys could be able to explain it better than I can, because I'm not very good at explaining goaltending techniques. And I just don't think that that's my area of expertise or strength. He just has that it factor for me, that I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like that guy's going to stop the puck. And I feel like he doesn't give up rebounds, and he's very quiet in the net. Does that make sense? Like he's very quiet. And sometimes I see other goaltenders and they look small, or they give up fat rebounds, or they look like they've lost their net. And I don't get that sense with Filip Gustavsson. And I know it's only a 10-game sample size, but I've liked what I've seen. I would go with him Friday against Dallas. If he plays well, I would go back to him for at least one of those 2 games back to back. And if Matt Murray's ready, then he gets to start in one of those games too.
Is it time to bring back Philly don't do rebounds in a whole different meaning?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Philly don't do rebounds.
Oh my God.
That's the best Nikita Filatov.
That's his highlight of his time in Ottawa.
Philly don't do rebounds. But wasn't that in Columbus that like the story was that?
I think so.
The story came out of Columbus that he was sitting in a video meeting and he was like, Philly don't do rebounds, right? Wasn't that the?
Yep. Aaron Portzline. I just pulled it up.
Yeah. But the story came out when he was acquired by Ottawa, I think, right? Like it was kind of like, this is why we traded Nikita Filatov for a 3rd-round pick. And it was, Philly.
Unbelievable. The exact quote here, and then we'll move on. One of Filatov's many previous coaches calls him into the video room for a one-on-one film session, shows him 5 instances where he needs to get to the net and create scoring chances, and he just turned to them flatly and said, Philly don't do rebounds. But if we're talking about a goalie not doing rebounds, Philly franchise, as we call them, I would be all for it. However, you asked me or said that maybe we could analyze why he's doing so well. I was on team protect Joey. I'll go to the grave with that.
Yeah.
However, he has impressed me at the NHL level, I will say. We were a bit jaded, I think. He's got 72 games in the AHL, which is crazy when you think about it. 23-year-old goalie already playing that much down there. He's got like an 880 save percentage. But then at the NHL level, it's a completely different show. And I mean, Mark Mathod's been very heavy on this of saying that it's so hectic down in the AHL. A guy who you mentioned is quiet in the crease like Gustafsson. It's almost better for him to be at the NHL level. So I worry when he's down there, as we're talking right now. Well, I guess he's sitting on the bench, never mind. But he has gotten a couple of games down in Belleville that it's going to be bad for his confidence. So get him in the NHL. And as long as he's producing, why not continue it up? But that's something to watch throughout the season. And all of the storylines are covered by Ian's great work with The Athletic. You can also find him on The Athletic NHL podcast. You're Monday and Thursday, right? I can't keep up with all the hosts.
Yeah. We've done a pretty good job of trying to create 4 or 5 day a week content. So I do Mondays with Haley and Thursdays with Sean McIndoe. Down goes Brown.
Absolutely. And I feel like he's a very good trivia player himself. Down goes Brown. Are you good to stick around with some trivia for us, Ian?
Oh, but only on are you going to clown me on this, guys?
No.
Like, am I going to get completely clowned on this trivia?
No, the only way you can get clowned is if your car breaks down and you don't go to Rock Auto. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
Oh, look at this.
Hey, when your car breaks down, call our friends at rockauto.com. Family business. Love to see that. They've been doing online customer service for 20 years. That's ahead of their time. Everyone else is pivoting with COVID. No, Rock Auto's been there for 2 decades. Rock Auto has everything you need, from engine control modules, brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil. You can even get your new carpet there. And whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks, delivered directly to your door. The rockauto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. where you can quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, specifications, and most importantly, the prices you prefer. Those prices are always reliably low and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Pillsy will kill you if you do. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. All we ask is that you put Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. That way, they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. All right, Ian, Pillsy, it's trivia time. Play the game show music and all that great stuff. We're going to start off with a nice, easy one for you, Ian. And if you go through the playoff scoring leaders, everything, it's all Alfredsson. It's all Alfredsson first. But only 2 Ottawa Senators in franchise history have more than 10 even strength playoff goals. Do you know who the other one is?
More than 10 even strength goals.
Yeah, that's a tough one to start
playoff goals.
Oh, playoff. Oh, sorry.
Yes, playoff goals. And Alfie's at 25. I will say the other player is at 11.
So my initial thought is Pajot. Because of
you're too good at that.
Hat tricks and the
that's
the 4-goal
way to
game.
look at it. Yep.
Nice. Pillsy, why don't you hit him with another one here? Because that's
it.
Easy.
That
you
was
got it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like there was multiple guys.
No, it's 2 guys.
Guys. You know who would have been sneaky good in that is Kyle Turris, because he's another guy that didn't really play that long, but has a whole bunch of playoff goals, right? I think in
3 overtime playoff goals. The only player in franchise history with that many.
Exactly.
That's like the only thing Alfie doesn't have in playoff stats leaders. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's Ian clowning us here, Ross.
No,
it gets it
no
right on the
surprise.
first one. All right, how about this? Not so much goal scoring, but switching it up a little. Which 2 Senators have more than 100 playoff penalty minutes?
More than 100 playoff penalty. See, now the obvious one seems.
There's one obvious answer. Yes.
So Chris Neal.
Yeah, he is over 200.
He's over 200?
Yeah, 204.
Wow. Okay.
And you got to think a lot of those were from the Battles of Ontario. And then obviously the Tanner Glass situation, I think he had 17 PIMs in a minute that game.
Good way to end things off.
Yeah. So now this is where it gets tricky, because I feel like, are you asking this because it's a sneaky guy like Pajot, or because, so the obvious guesses would be like Alfredsson Phillips would be like, Alfie, boy, would Alfie have taken 100 PIMs? Or to me, it's either Alfredsson or Phillips, because unless you guys are evil geniuses and it's like Volchenkov or something, but
although we always like to sneak Volchi in.
You know what? I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say Chris Phillips because he played a ton of playoff games, and I feel like he would have more PIMs than Alfie. Chris Phillips, final answer.
This guy's unbelievable,
man.
Right? It's almost like he's been covering the team for years. 105, so barely over Alfie.
Oof. And Alf
76. Although we don't count the 2 he had in Detroit because he didn't play there, as far as I'm concerned. No, doesn't count. Doesn't count at all. Okay, now we need to up the difficulty here. Maybe so for the last playoff one, I'll say. And which Sens goalie has played the most games for Ottawa without appearing in a playoff game?
So regular season games.
Yes, most regular season games played without appearing in a playoff game.
This one is tough.
This one's tough. And I'll give you one hint. He is 10th in games played for the Ottawa Senators.
Okay, so now the first guy I'm thinking of, and like the first guy that comes to mind for me is Robin Leonard, because I'm trying to think to myself, did Robin play playoff games? Like, did he sneak in and play? So I feel like maybe he did in one of those pesky Sen type of things. I feel like maybe he popped in. Okay. Gerber definitely, like Elliott play. Like, I'm going down the list to that point of the team. Like, see, Alex Auld now comes to mind. Okay. So I'm going to, unless it's like a bad 90s goalie. I don't mean a bad goalie. I mean a bad team 90s guy. Okay. I'm going to guess Don Beaupre.
No, but that's close. He's 11th in games played regular season, and he did not play a playoff game. So you're about as close as you could be without getting it.
Okay.
You know what? We'll see if
Like-
he pays attention to Locked On Senators. Gord Wilson owns his old set of pads.
Nice.
Oh,
That's a,
it's not Sidorkowitz. It's Craig Bellington.
Yes, there
Craig
you
Bellington.
go.
Well, yeah, you gave it away with the pads there from Gord Wilson, but
all-time story.
so Robin Leonard did. I'm thinking Robin Leonard played more than those guys. Robin Leonard did play in a playoff game.
I think he got into a playoff game, right?
He got into 2 playoff games in the 2012.
Sens.
Yeah.
And I believe
yeah.
it was against Pittsburgh when they absolutely
got smoked.
Destroyed Ottawa. I think James Neal had 13 points in 5 games.
Yeah.
That year. Yeah. So he had 1 goal against in he played 38 minutes the first game, and then he played 11-20 in the second game, both against Pittsburgh that year as a 21-year-old, where I gotta say that's probably the youngest goalie to ever start a playoff game in Ottawa, but I'm not the one answering the trivia today. I know that you're a big Battle of Ontario guy. So I thought this would be a fun question. Can you name the 5 Ottawa Senators players who have played at least 5 games? So we'll take away guys who played 1 or 2 and score. So the 5 Ottawa Senators who have played at least 5 games against Toronto and scored at more than a point per game.
Like playoff games?
No, regular season.
Okay, so regular
So
season.
we're not saying Neil Brady in his 2 games where he had 4 points.
So 5 games.
Yeah, there's a couple sneaky names on this list.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Okay. So,
But there's a couple obvious ones.
So the first guy that I think of right away because he torched them early was Danny Heatley.
Yeah.
Like Heater had the 4-goal game. Remember it was like a Saturday night in October of 2005, and they go to Toronto. They beat them like 8-0.
Yep.
Heater scores 4. McGrattan tunes in Ty Domi. People were like high-fiving. We're like, we've done it. We've like taken
The
down
lockout ended the curse.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, that was to me one of the most satisfying regular season wins for Ottawa because it just felt like a hurdle was cleared, right? Brian Murray was coaching them, right? That was Brian's first year, and it just felt different, like coming in. And so that's one for sure for me, like Heatley.
21 goals in 29 games, we should mention, for Danny Heatley. He's almost at a goal per game, let alone points.
21 goals in 29 games against Toronto?
And guess
Heatley
what?
feasted on the Leafs.
At 1.38 points per game, so 40 points in 29 games, he's second among the guys I'm asking you about because there's another player who absolutely torched the Toronto Maple Leafs. More recent, too.
More recent. That torched the Leafs?
Oh, yeah.
Like to that level?
Oh, yeah. Less games, so therefore less points, but more points per game.
Like Stone is a guy that maybe because I feel like there was one game like Stone had 3 or 4 points, and
there were lots of games because you nailed it. Stone had 30 points in 21 games against Toronto. It was a complete joke.
Stone beats Leaf in rock, paper, scissors, eh?
Okay, so I'm 2 for 2.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Jason Spezza because if Heatley was that good, I'm thinking Spez must have been pretty good against Toronto.
So I said more than a point per game. Get this. Spezza had exactly 56 points in 56 games.
Ooh.
So close, but no cigar. Although maybe just because I know we're running a little short on time.
Okay, Carlson. Erik Karlsson.
No, but I'll help you out with one. Jason Spezza was traded for this player.
Jason Spezza was traded for Nick Paul.
No, before that.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Alex Guptill. No.
Jason.
Yashin. Then.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Okay. Wow. I would never. You know what? Not in a million years would I have gotten that.
14 goals in 17 games too, only 5 assists, but that's pretty good goals per game as well.
Not bad.
And that's before Ottawa started dominating Toronto, like you said, in those mid 2000s years.
Okay.
The other two are extremely difficult, and one played 5 games, the other played 8.
Like, are these just rando? Like,
one of them was a big time playoff performer for the Ottawa Senators.
Like Kyle Turris?
No.
Pajot?
No, these might be too hard, Pilsy?
Big time producer for Ottawa in the playoffs.
I don't know about big time producer, but he scored a big goal or two, Pilsy.
What playoff run did he score these?
2017. He's involved in a trade
big game brass.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Big game brass. And
wow, he was more than a point a game against Toronto?
Yeah. Eight games, 9 points.
Okay.
And then this last one, like, you might actually remember this because every time they played Toronto, it felt like he scored. He only played 5 games against them, but he had 5 goals and 1 assist. And he was with Ottawa in their not so great years, but they were still beating Toronto because Babcock can't beat them.
As always.
Okay, this guy always scored against Toronto?
Yeah, first round pick, not for Ottawa. Like top 10 pick.
Top 10 pick?
Yeah, or did he go 11th? I'm going to look that up. But he was a high draft pick for the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, I think I got it.
Swedish guy, and he fell down after scoring a goal. It was hilarious.
10th overall, I was right.
Magnus Payarvi.
Yes, sir.
Didn't he have a weird thing where he fell down after scoring a goal or something? Was it Payarvi who scored a goal and then it was like a weird celebration where he fell down? Or am I imagining that?
I don't know.
That sounds like a Magnus Payarvi thing to remember.
Okay.
Yeah. Wipes out after celebrating goal. January 18th, 2019. Hilariously falls down.
Did he? He did, right?
Yeah.
He did.
Yes. See that? So it's funny. That's my memory of Magnus Payarvi. Not that he scored 5 goals in 5 games against the Leafs. I wouldn't have guessed that. But as soon as you said top 10 pick at Edmonton, that's what I think of. He wiped out after scoring a goal
against Carolina.
Nice. That's a solid one.
Bills, you want to wrap it up
All
here
right.
with our final one?
Yeah, I got one last one, and it's not going to involve 20 different names. You got to sift through, Ian, here.
Okay.
This one is kind of interesting. I hadn't really thought of this, but who was the last Ottawa Senator player to successfully score on a penalty shot?
On a penalty shot?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. So...
There's been a couple penalty shots since, but none have been successful. I'll give you at least one hint. It was to 2018.
2018. Penalty shot. This is a great one. If it's Magnus Payarvi, I'm going to...
That would tie in just too well.
I will tell you this. He scored in that game. Magnus Payarvi had a goal in that game.
Ooh.
But not the penalty shot.
Not the penalty shot. And Dadonov also scored in that game.
Dadonov? How... Oh, so it was
for the other
Florida.
team.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the heck. Boy, oh boy.
I have one more hint for you as well.
Okay.
Game winner in overtime.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a game winner in OT. Damn.
Yep.
Wait, he scored a penalty shot in overtime?
Correct. I thought you'd be all over
Well,
this.
now I'm totally blanking here.
And it was his second goal of the game.
Ooh.
Whoa.
What am I not remembering here?
I wonder what he had for dinner before that game.
Whoa.
Pajot?
Yes, sir. Chicken parm himself.
I don't remember the Pajot penalty
just remember,
shot goal.
Ian, you learn something new every time you come on Locked On.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was March 26th, 2018.
March 26, 2018.
Yep.
And the last Sens player to have a penalty shot was Formanton, but he didn't get it.
Shocker that he got it, though.
Honestly, yeah.
I remember Alfie scoring a couple of penalty shot goals, and I'm just having a hard time with it. Like, I'm not even picturing this Pajot overtime winner, and they beat the Panthers. Like, that's just wiped from my memory. Apparently.
Nice. Well, hey, we got a little something for you to Google search after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Got some homework.
Totally forgot about that one.
After the Locked On Senators friend of the show, Ian Mendes finishes up his The Athletic NHL podcast, where you can find wherever you download your podcast. And Ian, we literally read every single one of your articles. We really appreciate everything that you provide for us as well. To, obviously we give credit, but there's a lot of topics that maybe we don't think of. And like you said, everyone in this content of the Senators, we're all helping each other out, and hopefully our chemistry can turn to the ice as well, and we can start writing about a real winner. But we always appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a true pleasure.
Yeah, love it, guys. Anytime you need me, just give me a holler.
All right, stick taps to Ian for joining us, Pillsy. Always a pleasure having him on, eh?
Oh, Ian Mendes, one of the best. I mean, we told him, but we really do read every single one of his articles and often reference them in this show. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to The Athletic to check out Ian's great work, definitely recommend to him.
Absolutely, and our work will continue tomorrow. We'll be back for Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.